we're now ready to move on to doing camera and effects and the other cool stuff that you can do in Toon Boom. Of course, we've barely scratched the surface, but this is another step forward. So, we want, well, first of all, go ahead and download the zip file that has been attached to today's dailies. That is going to contain this file here, so you don't have to go digging for it. So what we need to do is you're going to go download that, unzip it, and then you're going to open the final scene underscore v01.xstage. Okay, so go ahead and open that. So this is more or less what we have been building up to this whole time. So you can see that in all its glory. We want to add something interesting with the camera, some camera motion happening here. But first we need to actually make a camera. So you can create a camera kind of like a layer. And this layer changes what you're able to see, right? Your field of view. Let's go ahead and make it. On the plus sign on your layers, or sorry, on your timeline, press that and then say camera. And you can animate this by itself, of course, but we probably don't want to do that. Just like with the drawings, I want to make sure that I don't put keyframes on this camera. So I need to add a peg, because that's what we usually have to do. So I add a peg. There we go. Camera-P. And we can move stuff around. Allegedly. Excuse you, why is it not doing anything? There we go. So you can kind of test that out and see what happens. You can scale it too. And it kind of looks like a zoom. Okay, don't do that what I just did. So kind of mess around with that, get a feel for it. What we want to add here is what's called a parallax effect. So let's break this down just a little bit. So we have on this image, we have this FG-P, and that's our foreground, that's these bushes. And then we have everything else on this background layer. So foreground, background. And we want to move these bushes in 3D space to make it look like it's closer to the camera. And so that we can get this really neat little thing called parallax. So this is essentially what Disney was doing or recreating when he made the multi-plane camera. So it's different distances and you can move it at different rates to kind of give that feeling of realism. I believe there's a video where he does this for the Pinocchio movie when they really first started going crazy with this, but that's a different story. Essentially, it's the principle that stuff further away from you looks like it's moving slower than things closer to you, relative to you. Okay, so things are kind of moving at the same rate, but it has that kind of weird look. You can see this when you look out your car window. Okay, notice how the hills in the distance move slower than the grass on the side of the road. Okay. All right, so let's create that motion. Well, first I want to see what's going on where my camera is sitting. So you want to go to Windows, Top. Okay, I have it open here already. I'm just going to go to it. So this shows me a top-down view of where my camera is at. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense, so let me explain it. The apex where this intersects here is your camera. That's the eye. That's where your camera is looking. This black line here is the plane, that we're staring at. Okay, so it's essentially looking at a screen. Notice when I move the camera back and forth, it kind of shows how much is in view when I move. You can take the scale tool and do the same thing. And notice what happens is your field of view changes on the camera. Okay, so that's kind of neat, the differences between those two things. All right, so we want to move these bushes. First of all, I want to make sure that I don't have any keyframes on any of it, because that has been causing problems. I don't want it to add any keyframes to it. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to click on this running dude, this animate current frame, and change it to animate off. That way anything I mess with, it's not gonna change it. Okay, so we want to take this bush peg and move it forward. You will know that animate is off because now my bushes are red. Okay, there's another thing I need to do, and that is turn on, or instead of using the scale tool, I'm going to use maintain size. So that way it stays this size, but I'm still moving it closer to the camera. So let me go ahead and do that. If you notice, that red kind of maintains the shape or the distance across. It just scales with it. All right, so now that I have that taken care of, we can turn animation back on. Go to the camera peg. We're going to put, well, it already put a keyframe on there for me, and I'm going to put a keyframe at the end. And on the end, that's where I'm going to move my camera out. So let's grab the move tool. Actually, I'm going to move it out this way. And you notice that the bushes move at a different rate because they're closer to the camera. All right, so now I've got my parallax effect in Toon Boom.